Hi everyone, my name is Moni.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And welcome to episode 2 of Let's Talk Board Games. We made it to a second episode.
Yeah, we pulled off the first one. We said, let's do another. So this is not on any particular schedule. So we're just going to talk about some games and some things in the industry.
Yes, we have a lot of games that we're going to talk about today, actually. And these are games that we don't typically cover on our channel. And one of the main reasons why is because we did a little bit of traveling in the past month and a half. So we were able to play party games, I guess you can call them.
Yep.
And in addition to those quick reviews, we are also going to be talking about the Spiel Des Jahres awards, because the awards were just announced recently, and we'd like to talk about them and hear your thoughts on them as well. But before we get into the rest of the episode, we do want to start doing this at the start of these episodes specifically. We want to shout out a content creator or a publisher because making content is extremely difficult. And a lot of times content creators are in it because we are trying to spread the love of the hobby. And the hobby is already such a small niche hobby already.
It is, yeah.
It's a lot of work, and we really want to, help support other content creators as well. And so for today's episode, we would like to shout out the Nerd Shelves, Michael and Judy from the Nerd Shelves. Hello. We actually have their mug, so I'm drinking coffee out of your mug today. But if you're not familiar with the Nerd Shelves, they are a couple. They do live stream playthroughs on their channel. They have a fantastic taste in games. Yeah, they are very, very nice people, very positive type of content. So if you enjoy playthroughs, please go ahead and check out their channel.
So that is Michael and Judy over at the Nerd Shelves. Thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing and what you're contributing to the hobby. And if you, the audience, have anybody that you want to shed light on, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. We'd love to check them out.
And also, because this is probably the perfect place to talk about it, over the weekend we did play a couple of Haba games, and we never really get to talk about Haba games or this specific age group of Haba game. Yeah. We do want to mention these two. We played Go Cuckoo, which is a dexterity game that is actually pretty difficult.
It's hard, yes. This is not that easy. Basically what you're doing in this game is...
You're building a nest.
You're building a nest, you're placing eggs on it, and you're trying to get rid of your eggs, and then at the very end, you're trying to put the mama chicken or hen on top of it without it collapsing and crumbling on you.
Yes. The minimum age is 4, but just know that there are pokey kind of sticks.
There are sharp sticks
here,
for 4, yeah.
But they don't have like a sharp end to it, but they are like thinner sticks. But
if you have wild children, be careful.
Cute dexterity game. And the other Haba game is called Hammer Time. This is a cute one. Naveen thought he was doing really well there by smashing the side of the box real hard.
Yeah.
Because the premise of the game is there are a bunch of gems on top of this box, and with a hammer, you're lightly kind of like hammering.
You don't have to lightly hammer. It depends on what you're trying to do, but...
And you're trying to spill over some of the gems, and you're trying to collect a certain combination of them to fulfill your card requirements. It's a little bit more to it than that, but that is the basic gist of this game, and this one is really cute.
Yeah, the box itself, it becomes the play surface. There's a mat in here that you'll place on top. You'll lay out some gems on it, and you'll start hammering away, hoping for those gems to fall off so that you can complete orders that you have on your cards. And so it is a clever little game and pretty good for that age group. And
so the minimum age for Hammer Time is 5, and again, this one is 4. And so if you have preschool age gamers, then these might be some games that you might want to check out. So that is Hammer Time and Go Cuckoo by Haba. In our first episode, we also mentioned that we'd like to kind of start out these episodes with a little bit of board gaming news, but we forgot about that as the month progressed, so we didn't write everything down, but I know that you were excited about something.
So earlier this month, or a couple weeks ago, we put out our Dune video, our Dune playthrough.
Yes, Dune Imperium.
Dune Imperium, and I believe the very next day it was announced that there was going to be an expansion. And that was by happenstance. It was just random. We did not have any inside news or anything like that. We put out a playthrough, and that was announced the very next day, which I thought was pretty cool. And then also, in addition to that, Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a game that is very, very interweaved or very similarly compared, is also going to have an expansion. So those are two things that I'm pretty excited for, because for me, Lost Ruins, I feel, needs an expansion. And then for Dune, we've played it a number of times, but I can see that game really needs an expansion. I love both of them. And so I think there's really, really great news.
Yeah, Lost Ruins, I think, also has a solo mode or something that they announced.
I don't know.
They announced something. I feel like they announced a couple of things recently for Lost Ruins.
I'd be speculating.
We're
yeah.
going to check that after we film this, and we'll include any links in the description below for Lost Ruins. But there you go. That is our news. And so let's just go ahead and deep dive now into our topic today, which is a pretty big one.
Which is pretty much news also.
Yeah, it is pretty much news. And this is the Spiel Des Jahres Awards. And so before we actually start talking about this, if you are not familiar with the Spiel des Jahres, this is like the pinnacle of board gaming awards that we know of. It's probably the most established, I guess. That's probably the way to say it. Because there are several different board game awards out there. But this is the one that is German-based. Each year, they have 3 different categories of games that they nominate games for.
Yep.
And so there's the Spiel des Jahres category, which is like the family weight game.
Game of the year.
Yeah, game of the year. It's like the game of the year.
Yeah.
There's the Kinderspiel, which is for for kids.
Children's,
usually younger kids. And then the Kennerspiel, which is the strategy game.
Strategy game, the gamer's game kind of category, but we like to refer to it as strategy game.
Because every game is a gamer's game.
That's right.
And so a couple of weeks ago, we actually filmed 2 episodes with Game Night on the BGG YouTube channel. And so if you are interested in checking them out, we will leave the links in the description below. One episode was a playthrough of Fantasy Realms.
Which was a game that's nominated.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
And the second episode was all about the Spiel des Jahres Awards nominees and which games we wanted to win in each category, as well as our predictions as to which games would win.
Yes.
So now that we know which games won, we're here to talk about it.
Sure, yeah.
So let's start with, first of all, we're not going to go into detail about the Kinderspiel.
Right.
And the reason why...
We don't know much about them.
We haven't played any of them.
That
were nominated.
Didn't do any research on them, unfortunately. But if you are interested, Dragomino is the game that won. There was also a game called Mia London and Storytellers.
Storytellers.
Yes.
Yeah,
those are the 3 games. So if you have children or if you are interested in these games, you can always check out those 3.
And so let's start with the Spiel des Jahres Awards.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So for the Spiel des Jahres category, which is the game of the year, there were 3 games nominated. They were The Adventures of Robin Hood. I think it's called The Adventures of
Something like
Robin
that,
Hood, which is a cooperative game that follows like a 12 game campaign.
You know what? We don't actually know. We know that the campaign lasts anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours, is what I understand. Yeah.
But it follows like asymmetric characters. You all have kind of like your goals as to what you are trying to further in the story, depending on who you are.
Yeah, so like one person will play as like Robin Hood, another person can be Lil Jon, somebody is going to be Maid Marian, and I cannot remember who the 4th character is, but there is a 4th character, and you're all working together, and you're trying to basically accomplish a certain task by the end of the scenario or the round.
There's a board, a really big, beautiful board, and there are these kind of like flaps that you can
like an advent
over.
calendar.
Yeah, kind of like an advent calendar, exactly, that kind of reveal or hide elements on the board.
Yep.
And then there's a whole booklet that leads you through the campaign because it's story based.
Right.
The next one is called Zombie Teens Evolution. And so that's a game that we covered on our channel during our 12 Days of Christmas. If you're interested in learning more about that game, we'll include a link up there. But this is a kind of like the second iteration of a previous game called Zombie Kids Evolution. It's a legacy style game, meaning things change. You play the game over and over again and things will change and kind of like spice things up. I'm getting the 2 confused now, Zombie Kids and Zombie Teens, but one of them is where you're passing stuff into the school.
Yes, you're trying to get supplies into the school to kind of like barricade and protect against a zombie horde, basically.
And the zombies can like jump from area to area.
They can spawn at different areas and they can kind of wreak havoc. And so you're trying to basically put out fires and prevent your school being overrun.
It's very cute. And the third one is Micro Macro, which was the award winner.
Yep.
This is a game kind of like Where's Waldo, where you have this giant map. The game comes with, I believe, 16 different crime-based cases that you're trying to solve by looking for the crimes on the map.
Yep.
And the way that it does kind of like a time where, for instance, if you find a stick figure on the map and then you are trying to figure out what it did 3 hours earlier, then you look somewhere else in the map and you'll see it again there, doing whatever that person was doing earlier in the day.
Yeah, and there's a deck of cards, a small deck of cards per each scenario that kind of help you know exactly where to look on this map. Otherwise, it's just this huge map.
Yes.
It's all black and white, kind of stick figure looking art, and it can be very, very difficult. So there'll be like a deck of cards that say, where does he live? You know, and you'd be like, oh, okay, so he might live in this area, and that helps you kind of focus your attention a little bit easier, so you can follow the story.
Yeah, it'll be like he lives east of the grocery store. So you look for the grocery store, then you'll go look east, and then you'll find that person.
Like, oh, there he is.
And that's where you start that investigation. So
exactly. Yeah.
That is the award winner. And also to preface, we played all of the games, all 6 games that were nominated for both of these categories, because during the day that we went to film with Game Night, with the Game Night crew, they had all the games kind of laid out, and they allowed just all of us to play them.
Yeah, so we could inform, talk about each one and inform, not just knowing like little tidbits of which games. And obviously, well, I'm going to pick the one I know. Yes. So we ended up playing all of them. We got to blitz through all of them. So we did get to play each one from start to finish, which was good.
Including a full game of Paleo while everybody just sat there because they were so kind.
They were very kind.
If you go watch that video, the one that we filmed with Game Night about Spiel Des Jahres, every single one of the people in that video, they're so nice.
They're very nice people, yes.
But, okay, so how do you feel about the award winner, Micro Macro?
So, that's the game I thought was going to win.
That was your predicted?
That was definitely the predicted one, because it is very unique. It's weird. It's very unique yet very familiar, because if you grew up, at least, like us in the early 90s, with Where's Waldo, I don't know. Was Where's Waldo before that? I'm assuming it was either before that.
Started. I had like all of those books.
Yeah,
I really loved Waldo.
Yeah, and so that game, basically, the familiarity of that from being a kid to now seeing something similar to that in game form, if you want to call it a game. So I think it can get a little held up there. Is this really a game or not? But because of the experience I had with it, I really thought that was the game that was going to win, and sure enough. So I'm not surprised that the jury selected that one. We don't know what the selection process is for when they do these nominations, as well as how they vote on it. We don't know if it's like a ranked voting or anything like that. But that was my prediction, and so sure enough, it won. And I believe you felt the same way?
I don't remember which one I predicted to win, but I wanted that one to win. And like you're mentioning, I think that there is definitely going to be a debate about whether or not this is a game. And the reason why is because it's a map, a beautifully illustrated map. Whoever this artist is incredible. Yeah. And a lot of cards, and the cards are what you're trying to solve. And so it's not a game that I would play with more than 2 players. There's a lot of caveats here. But I will say that after that day, I went home and I looked up this game online, and there is an online scenario that you can do. So if you're interested in just like knowing what this game is about, you can play this online scenario. And I played it, and I went on my Switch and I tried to find more games that were like it, because I really, really had to have this game. And it's not sold in the US right now, and I'm really sad about it, because I really want Micro Macro. I loved it so much.
It was really good, yeah.
But again, we grew up in the era of Where's Waldo and I Spy, and just all of these types of activities, I guess, that would lead us to have an interest in this game.
Yeah, like when we were kids and you'd go to a restaurant, they would hand you kind of that like little thing to keep you busy so you wouldn't make noise. Now you realize why they give it to kids is so that you're not yelling and screaming and stuff.
In terms of the other 2 games, though, they were really good as well. Zombie Teens Evolution is a fantastic legacy game that's for kids and for adults, really. It's like a family weight legacy game, but kids definitely love that line. Zombie Kids Evolution and Zombie Teens Evolution. Even though it says teens, you can still play it with the kids, because it's just kind of like I
think it's just a progression.
Progression of the first game.
Yeah.
But I think Zombie Kids Evolution was nominated before. Okay. So I'm glad that something else won, I guess. And the other game, The Adventures of Robin Hood, we don't really have a fair assessment on that game.
Yeah, so the copy that they had was actually the German copy, and the game comes with a story book, essentially. And so as you play each scenario, you have to read through a pretty hefty amount of text and in order to kind of unlock more mechanisms and see more of what the game has to offer. Yeah. The copy that they had, they only sent over the first scenario. So everybody that was there had only played that first scenario. Yeah. So we don't really know what's possible after that.
We know what kind of mechanics would be in. Like, there's an interesting way that you move, and there's obviously like the flipping over of
the advent calendar,
style thing. And it felt very interesting when we were playing it. Very innovative, but it's kind of like playing a game and only playing the intro scenario. Yeah. Like, you don't really know what the rest of it's going to be like.
Yep, exactly.
So that is how we felt about the Spiel des Jahres Awards. We're both obviously very happy with the awards winner. And so moving on to the Kennerspiel, which is the strategy game category. The 3 nominees were Lost Ruins of Arnak,
Yep.
which is a CGE game, very, very well known. Fantasy
Fantasy
Realms,
yeah.
which is a funny one.
Uh-huh.
And then Paleo, which is the game that won.
Right.
So let's talk about this. This is a very, I feel like this one is a little bit more controversial, I guess.
Sure.
Because Fantasy Realms was a strange nomination. As much as I like Fantasy Realms, I do really, really enjoy that game. We're split on it, but I really enjoy that game. But I didn't really agree with the nomination.
Yeah, so the game originally came out in 2017. We have found out since then that the nominees or what games that get nominated, it doesn't matter what year they came out worldwide. It only matters what year it came out in Germany, apparently. And I guess this game came out most recently in Germany, and so that's why it was nominated for this year and not back in 2017.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
And I will say, originally I wasn't really in agreement with that game being nominated. But at the same time, what category would it be under? Right?
Oh, you mean for category?
Yeah, if it were to be nominated.
If it were to be nominated.
Which category would it be under? It's pretty complicated when you think of the actual strategy in playing the game, how to score it. There's a whole app, but we couldn't really, it was hard to maneuver the app when we played it during that day. So it can be pretty complicated especially for a game of that amount of time and weight, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let us know what you think about that. But The Lost Ruins of Arnak is the game that I thought was going to win. I thought that was like clear as day. That was going to be the winner. And I think maybe people would be probably disappointed that it didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very popular game. It was one of the biggest games that came out last year, I would say.
Yeah.
It was sold out for a while. I remember when we released our video, which we link up here, if you want to see it. I remember hearing people saying like, oh, where can we get this? This thing's sold out. And then I remember even somebody saying like, I can only buy it from a Canadian website. It's not even available here. So I thought based off of kind of like hype, based off of the actual game itself, which it is a very good game, as well as the popularity of it being sold out, that I was like convinced that was the game that was going to win.
And you voted for that one to win.
That's the one that I did. Not that I have any bearing on what's going to win in Germany. No,
he's not part of the jury.
I'm not part of the jury, but that's the one I thought. I was like, if I was to vote, it would be that one, as well as that's the one I thought was going to win.
Yeah, you double voted that one.
I double voted that one.
I voted for Paleo because I wanted Paleo to win, but I thought The Lost Ruins of Arnak was going to win.
For all the same reasons.
Yeah, anyway, I am shocked. I'm shocked that The Lost Ruins of Arnak did not win. It is a good game.
Yeah.
I think that, I'm not saying that Paleo is a better game. I wouldn't say that at all. But when we played it that day, it felt so new. It felt so interesting for a cooperative game. If you're not familiar with Paleo, this is a fully cooperative experience where you are all Paleolithic ancestors, I suppose. And we are trying to do what they were probably doing back then, which is survive.
Gotta get food, gotta build tools.
We're trying to make this painting.
Yes.
That's the object of the game.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so yes, that's right. The object of the game is to make 5 paintings or not have 5 people die, right?
Yeah, yes.
That's essentially what it is, yeah. So it's either one or the
skulls.
other. 5 skulls,
yes.
Yeah. 5 skulls essentially means 5 members of the tribe have passed.
Have passed.
Yeah, so...
But it's interesting
it's
because it kind of goes with this whole kind of innovative deck system where you hand out these cards from a deck, and these are the cards that we're going to be using to explore. You can either choose some of the different terrain to go on depending on the cards that you have in your deck. And then
you have imperfect knowledge about what's on the backside of these cards. Like, let's say you're going to go to the forest. You know that there is possibly food there, and possibly you can find like rocks there, which you'll need to build tools. And so after everyone selects a card, everyone simultaneously reveals, I believe, and then you decide, okay, who are we going to help out do what certain things?
Yes, because when you reveal the cards are going to have options of different actions that you can take there. They're not always good.
No.
And you have to spend certain symbols that you've acquired in front of you in order to take some of those actions.
Yep.
And you can always choose to help somebody else do their action by contributing the symbols that you have to their cause. So this is a really difficult game to explain in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But that is the basic gist. And so I was really impressed by it when we played it that day. It is not 45 to 60 minutes or whatever it says on the box.
There's no way.
Long.
Yeah, that one ran long because you have to have a discussion about certain things because everything is so tight on the margins. You have to really math out okay, we need 6 food by the end of this round minimum so that we don't die. So every single decision, it's okay, well, I'm going to play this card, and so I know I have this many cards left. Okay, let's make this decision. So everything that you do, you kind of slow down and talk. And it's fun actually that there's no, in this game in particular, I don't really see a way that somebody can quarterback. So meaning like somebody says, this is what we're doing, follow me, I will show you kind of the way.
Yes, if you're not familiar with the term quarterbacking, that is a term that is commonly used for fully cooperative games where somebody takes the lead. Like if I were quarterbacking, I would try to tell Naveen every move that he needs to make. And so now essentially nobody at the table is really playing because it's only that one person controlling.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that in this game.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their own portion of the main deck and you need to make decisions based off of what you have in front of you. And it would just be way too difficult to do that.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I was very impressed by it. And I didn't think it was going to win, but it did. And I'm really impressed that it won because it beat out the Lost Ruins of Arnak, which I really, really thought was going to win.
Yeah, and this game was a game that when we were looking at the Essen 2020 releases, that was one that caught my eye just on theme alone, even though I'm not a theme person when it comes to games. For some reason, that one caught my eye. And then I don't know what happened. Just time passed. I didn't look into it any more than that. And then once I found out that it was nominated for the Spiel, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's the game that I was thinking about. And then we finally got to play it, and then I was like, oh, this is a really good game. I love co-op games, so I definitely want to try it again. Apparently, when you play it the first time, it says not to play it with 4 players. Is that
it's really hard.
It's very hard.
We haven't spoken. Yes. We should have mentioned this earlier, but Paleo is really, really difficult.
It can be very punishing.
Yes, the very first time you play it. I mean, we got lucky the first time we played it, or the only time we played it, because, we had people helping us, and there were just some things that kind of like went in our favor. Yep. But the first time you play it, man, you're probably going to get crushed. It's a really hard game. But it's a campaign style as well, where you can play different... I think you play through... I don't know how many scenarios are in it, but each time you play, it's different experience. And so that's part of the reason why I like it so much. Anyway, we could talk about this topic forever, but that is how we felt about the Spiel Des Jahres awards. It kind of felt like a strange year, right?
Well, Fantasy Realms, that's pretty strange.
Yeah, Fantasy Realms is on there. Micro Macro is not a game that I would have expected just to see and win, even though I really liked it so much.
Sure.
And then Paleo beating out Lost Ruins of Arnak. Surprising.
Drama. Love it.
So anyway, please let us know what your thoughts are on the Spiel des Jahres awards, all the nominations. Did you agree with the award winners? And also, had you been a member of the jury, which games would you have nominated? In 2020, I guess.
Nominated in general, because sometimes like we see these 3 games and we're just like, should that even be a nominee?
Right.
So if you had a magic wand and you're like, no, we're going to put this game out there, what would that game be?
Yes. We always learn more about more titles from seeing the games that you kind of talk about in the comment section, so we'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, and finally, we are going to go into our really quick reviews. So we're going to talk about a lot of games today, just because we went on 2 separate trips in the past month and a half, because this is the first time that we really saw friends ever since things started opening up a little bit. And so we played a lot of party games, or like games that would play well at higher player counts.
At least at one of those trips we definitely did,
Yes. So we're going to talk about them very quickly. The first trip that we went on was a trip to Joshua Tree National Park. And so if you're familiar, that is a national park in Southern California.
Yes, it's like 2.5 hours east of where we live.
Yes.
It's into the desert, deep desert there. It gets real hot, but it's
beautiful.
Very interesting trees. They're trees that kind of look like Dr. Seuss.
The Joshua trees.
Joshua trees, they kind of go all over the place.
And so we were able to play a few of these games. These were games that were sent to us by... I think the company is called Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, it's a game by Exploding Kittens is what everything says on the box.
If you're not familiar with Exploding Kittens, it is a very, very popular card game that's kind of like Hot Potato.
It was a very popular Kickstarter game. It did millions of dollars on Kickstarter.
Very popular, yeah. But it has really funny artwork about, and I think cats, right, is the theme of it. But it's like a hot potato game.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And so they made a line of party games, and these were the 4 that we were able to play on that trip. I think there were a couple more, but we weren't able to get to them. We actually didn't play Exploding Kittens on that trip either, which is funny. And so we're going to briefly talk about these. So let's start with this one. This is Taco Cat spelled backwards. This is a 2-player only game. And it's it's not like trick taking. Naveen didn't play this.
I didn't play it, but I saw you playing it.
Yes.
It's 2-player only. It's a tug of war game where you have this taco. The reason why it's called Taco Cat spelled backwards is because Taco Cat spelled backwards is Taco Cat. If that makes sense. So there's this board. Yeah, it's a palindrome. So there's this board where there's this taco sitting in between, and you're trying to get the taco to the other side of the finish line, basically, right?
Yes, it's a good duel. And so the way that it works is somebody will play a card, and you have to respond back by either playing a card of equal or a higher value than the card that they played. And if you aren't able to, then you have to sacrifice, you must sacrifice your lowest numbered card. And that's bad because by the end of the round, you're going to reveal your last card in your hand, and whoever played the lower card wins that round.
Right.
That's the basic premise of how this game is played. There's a little bit more to it than that because of the way that the board is set up, and that little bit more to it is what made me not really like this game. It's dual style, and also it plays very similar to another game that I played.
Gudetama.
Yeah, Gudetama.
Yeah.
The trick-taking game, which is like a family style game, but this only plays two.
Right.
So anyway, this one fell pretty flat for me, and I think also the friend who I played it with. So that is Taco Cat spelled backwards. This is a game of cat and mouse. It's
Silly.
like a tabletop activity.
Yes.
You know, if you think of games
like Clask.
like Clask, if you're familiar with that, or even just like table foosball or something like that, very much so in that vein of games. The actual game box is the game. You open it up, and it turns into this like board where you're flicking these yellow balls back and forth, but in the middle, in between the two players, is this like face of a cat.
Yes.
And the cat has a nose. It also has teeth.
Teeth, yeah.
And so the object of the game, you can win in 3 different ways. You can either flick all 8 of the yellow balls to your opponent's side before they can get them back to you.
Yep.
And if that happens, then you win the round.
And because you get kind of caught up in the things that where you're not keeping track of certain things. There's different color balls. So if you're trying to focus on the white balls, but the yellow balls are coming, and you kind of lose track of it, the game could be over, and you'd be like, "Oh man, I have all the yellow balls." Yeah, so that's one way.
Yeah, another way to win is if you flick all of the teeth.
Yeah.
The white balls, essentially, or if you flick the nose, because the nose is the hardest ball.
It's a very specific
it's right in the
spot
middle
that you have to nail. Yeah.
Yes.
I got it.
one?
It was fun. Definitely an activity. More so than a board game, and this is also only 2-player only, but it's silly fun.
Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah. All right, and these last 2 games were our favorite of the 4.
Yeah,
yes.
Sure. Okay, so this one, Poetry for Neanderthals, this one was my favorite of the 4 that we played, and this one is very silly. You're going to split up into 2 different teams, and you're essentially going to, on your turn, you're going to draw a card and try to explain what's on the card to your teammates with only using one syllable words.
Yes.
So make
funny.
something up.
You do it.
Okay, so let's say the word is like democracy.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I would have to explain it to my teammates.
Oh yes.
It is thought of guy who speaks, I don't know, you'd have to say something like that. So
and if Naveen were to say a word that has more than 1 syllable, then he gets banged.
I get bonked, yeah.
No.
That was a terrible explanation.
Yeah. It comes with the bat, by the way.
It comes with the bat, yeah.
But that's the basic premise. You're trying to get your teammates to guess the word.
Yeah.
And
it's silly because you start sounding like really, really strange in the way that you talk. And so yeah, it's very clever.
Yeah, it's funny because the more we play the game, the more I thought, okay, I got this. I can do this. And then when it gets to my turn, suddenly I'm saying all these multi-syllable words.
All of a sudden, you want to say the word person so many times, and you cannot say the word person.
Poetry for Neanderthals. And the final game in this kind of group of games is Throw Burrito. So this is, if you're familiar with a game called Spoons.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with it, that is a fun game that you can play just with a deck of cards where you have spoons in the middle of the table. Now I'm explaining spoons, but you have spoons in the middle of the table and you have a deck of cards and you're just you're looking at a card and passing it to your opponent and you're just kind of doing this in a circle.
Yeah, pass a card, draw a card.
Yes, and the object of the game is to have a 4 of a kind in your hand, and if you're able to do that, then you grab a spoon, and if somebody grabs a spoon, then everybody needs to grab one, because whoever doesn't have a spoon is a loser.
It's kind of like, what's that game when you're walking around, the music stops, and you all have to grab a chair? Musical chairs.
Musical chairs,
Yeah,
yes.
it's like that, yeah.
Yes, and so that is how you play spoons, but that is also the basic premise of Throw Burrito, because there are cards, and you're trying to look for 3 of a kind of these cards.
Right.
And you're doing it the same fashion where you draw a card and you pass it on. But these cards also have 3 different types of battle
cards.
Battle cards. There's Brawl, Duel,
And war?
and War.
Yeah.
If you collect 3 of a kind of any of those battle type cards, then you go into that type of battle. So if it's a war, then
The people to your left and right.
the people to your left and right battle it out by grabbing these burritos that the game comes with and throwing them at each other. And whoever gets hit gets minus points.
Yes.
Burrito war.
And then the duel is interesting because if I played the 3 duel cards, I choose 2 players and then they go back to back and
Literally
they-
back to back, take 3 paces, turn around, throw.
and turn around and throw it because it's like a duel type burrito war.
Right, yeah.
So this game was really, I thought this one was fun. This one was my favorite of the 4. It is pure chaos.
It is
It
chaos.
is also really difficult to remember the differences between those 3 types of battling. And so anytime anybody would get 3 of a kind of any of those battle cards, we would all just
Everyone
be
would
like,
just freak
wait,
out.
is
Yeah.
that the one where,
Yeah.
is that the one where you grab? So it was chaos, pure chaos. But it did make for some really, really funny moments when we would duel each other. That is Throw Burrito. And last but not least, this is not a game that we are reviewing. This is actually a game off of our shelf, but we just wanted to share this with you all because this was the true hit of that weekend.
Yes, this
And
is
it-
a great game.
It's a game called Decrypto. If you have not heard of this game before and you do play with higher player counts, because I think the minimum, it says the minimum is 3, but I think really like 4.
I think 3v3.
Maybe, yeah,
4 is like good. Yeah.
It's definitely a team-based game.
Yes.
But this game is so good.
I don't think I could describe this, so I will. I don't know how do you describe this game?
Okay, so the premise of the game is each team has 4 words, and you cannot see what the opposite team's words are.
It's kind of like Battleship, where they have their side, we have our side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Each team is going to have a person who's going to be playing this round, and they're going to draw a card, and the card has a 3-digit code. It's going to be like 132. Your goal is to try to get your teammates to guess the code, that 3-digit code that you pulled in your card, by writing down words that relate to those words.
Yes.
That
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. As a team, you can see these four words. So
But you
like,
can't see the card that that person drew.
You cannot see the secret code that
Yes.
they're trying to tell you. Exactly.
Over the course of the game, you may be able to guess what the opposite team's words are.
Yeah.
Just based off of what the codes were in previous rounds. It is really difficult to describe.
Yeah. So let's say one of the words is rain.
Yes.
You might say, in the first round, you might say water. Then in the second round, you might describe it as drought. In the third round, you might start saying sunlight because it comes from the sky. So you start to think like in kind of a more heady way, because the more you zero in on that word, the more your opponents, the people on the opposite side, have a chance to steal. And if they can guess that word, then they can score points.
Yes. It's so clever.
Yeah.
Very, very clever game because you're trying to think of words that your team is going to understand are related to the words in front of you, but you also don't want to be too obvious so that the opposite team guesses your words.
Yeah,
That
they
is
can
the
crack
main
your code.
Yeah, that is the main heart of the game. It gets, I don't know if it's just our friends, but man, this game gets intense.
It does, yeah.
People get really, whenever I'm the person who has to give hints, I am so nervous because I don't want to let my team down, but I also don't want to write words that are too out of the box that they're like, I have no idea which words she's talking about, right?
Yeah.
But this is an excellent game. Highly recommend if you are going to get together with people to play games at higher player counts.
Yep.
That is Decrypto. And again, this is a game off of our shelf that we just wanted to share with you all. All right. So if you are still
still
with
here,
us,
yeah.
thank you so much for joining us for our second episode. We talked a lot today.
Yeah. And so if you do have any comments on the Spiel des Jahres, we'd like to hear those. Games that you've possibly played recently, we'd also love to hear those. And of course, like we asked at the very beginning, if there's any content creators that you want to put on our radar, you can also leave that there. So just have a bunch of bullet points and we'll try to get around to them.
See you next time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.